All right, hey everybody, and welcome to the 90-minute art challenge. My name is Bobby Chu. I'll be your host, and then we also have here my co-host Masei Seki.
Hello.
And today's awesome guest, if you cannot read, is Sinix. Holy smokes! Hey Sinix.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Fantastic. Now that you're here, so for those of you that do not know who Sinix is, let me show you. So first, I want to pimp out his YouTube channel. He's a beast on this. Over 500,000 subscribers. Look up Sinix Design and follow him there before you forget. Right stinking now. Also, after that, go over to Instagram. You could look up Sinix Design there and follow him there as well. You could see all these awesome posts, especially some Lightbox posts. Thanks, Sinix.
Oh yeah, I love
Also,
Lightbox.
yeah, I'd love to hear that. Really appreciate that. And so, what is the 90-minute art challenge? Well, the 90-minute art challenge is exactly that. It's 90 minutes, and it's an art challenge where you take an image, the image given to us for every challenge, and then you just do whatever. You could copy it, you could riff off of it, do something totally different, whatever you like. We're going to be doing our own versions here and painting it in our own different ways. Um, so you could download that image that we're painting from. You go to tumblr.com and look up 90 min art challenge 90 min art challenge, and you'll find the Tumblr page there, and you could download the images there. After that, you could upload them to Instagram, and when you upload them to Instagram, hashtag them 90 min art challenge, and then we'll be able to see them. And every time we do a stream, we always love to just put a few on the spotlight here. So you go to Instagram, hashtag 90 min art challenge. We'll be able to find them here. And here's just a few, some from the past challenges. This one was a difficult one. You got two different kinds of light, all sorts of things going on, some red demon thing. This one was also surprisingly challenging. I remember this one. This one's pretty cool too. Uh, and then boom, and then boom.
Um,
Some pretty good ones today. The other thing I want to mention here is that tomorrow we're going to have a special 90 minute art challenge. This one is, we're always mixing it up. We're always trying to do something cool. This one is going to be led by our very own Masei Seki, and she's going to bring one of her paintings. I asked her to bring out one of her paintings, this one in particular, because this one's so lovely. And the whole entire challenge for that one is going to be to paint a frozen treat, right? And Masei is going to take her painting, dissect it for us, and really let us into the brain of Masei Seki. And yeah, that's going to be fun. And I'm going to do the same thing on Monday's stream, where my challenge, I'm going to break down this painting, but my challenge is going to be use the hue blue to create realistic, believable skin tones, because that's what I did.
Oh, I need to do that one. I've been trying to get more blue skin tones going.
Oh shoot. Well, I don't want to do any spoilers and explain it here. So everybody will have to just join in on Monday.
yeah, it's gonna be
Um,
fun.
Now, last little bit of housekeeping, I hope you don't mind, is there's the Discord channel. We are currently on Discord right now on the Lightbox Expo Discord server. You can go to where it says Discord on the bottom of the screen here, go to bit.ly/LBX Discord, and then you could join us on there. And you can see a whole bunch of us on there today already. Um, Also, there is Slido. So you can see if you have questions, you can go to slido.com. If you don't like Discord, if you got something against Discord, that's all right. Go to Slido and ask your questions in there. Um, and then last little thing, last tiny, very important, big little thing, which is the Schoolism winter
Ooh,
sale.
yep.
$100 off an annual subscription, have your education for, less than a couple university textbooks. That really puts in perspective. You just go to
Mhm.
schoolism.com, click on the banner, sign up, register, and all of a sudden you're in. You access all the courses on Schoolism. And there, I'm done. So why don't we go to some questions or anything? Welcome the Lightbox Expo Discord community. Drop in, ask some questions. We got Sinix here. That's pretty exciting.
Yay.
I think they're all shy right now.
No.
Or they're too busy.
I'm not.
Awesome. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, I'm Kaya. Actually, that's the first question I ever asked. I never asked anything before. So, but I'm not shy. I'm fine. Hi, how are you, by the way, everyone? How are you doing?
Great.
Good.
Good.
All right. So I have a question for Sinix. I don't know if everyone ever asked you this question. So if anyone asks, sorry for my ignorance. I never heard anyone asking you that question, so I'm just gonna ask it. Were your parents supportive of you?
In terms of being an artist,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I think the main thing is, unlike with most people, like I wasn't trying to do art when I was young, like high school age or anything. So it wasn't like I was, telling my parents when I was, 12, like I'm gonna be an artist, and they were worried, like, oh no. But instead, it was like me as like 19, 20 years old and still living at home and not going to college because I was kind of a weird loser person. And I was having fun, but I was exploring other things. And then that I was like, I think I was kind of like, you know what? I think I'll do art. And they were like, please just do something, anything. Please just do a thing and get good at it. So there was never any negativity toward the art aspect of things. Luckily, my parents were just very supportive in general, like financially supportive and everything, which is why I was able to pursue art. They let me live in their house, which is, the most you can ask for as an artist is to just have, the freedom to pursue it while not having to worry about, paying rent. So I'm very, very lucky and fortunate to have that.
That's so funny.
Thank you. Thank you for answering my question. Thank you.
Sure.
So the
Thank you.
advice is, make sure that when you go into art, you're moving up in your parents' eyes, and then they're like super happy.
You have to set the bar so low that when you say, you know what, I'm going to be an artist, they're like, oh, great, finally. So I don't know what's below art. Maybe like, being a drummer in a band or something. And then you can say like, you know what, I think I'm going to be an artist. They'll be so happy.
That's a good one. I remember, like, I have such annoying cousins sometimes because they're so freaking smart and so good at everything and just such good people. Um, like my one cousin came to Canada, and then a year later he got like 90s in English when I'm still struggling, like that kind of thing. And then I told one of them, I was like, you're getting your grades too high. Everybody's going to expect so much of you as you get into high school and go into college. Look at me. Nobody expects good grades from me. And my last year, I'm going to really try and get some good grades, and they're going to be way more proud of me than they are of you. That just reminded me of that.
How did it work out?
It really did. It really did.
That
Yeah.
is so funny.
Because they were
That,
so
like-
relieved, they were relieved. But if you get
Yeah.
90s all your life and then you start getting 80s or, then all of a sudden it's like, what's wrong? What did you do?
Yeah, it definitely helps when there's like a big, lots of room for improvement when you start like pretty low.
Lowered expectations.
You
Achieve
know, or
life.
expectation.
You know, that
I
reminds me
have
of
a s-
movies and stuff. Like when a movie is like highly anticipated, it, you know, it's so much harder to really get satisfied watching that movie than like coming into a movie where it's like you just got nothing to do and you're just gonna watch this movie. Like, what is this? I don't even know.
Yeah.
And then it's, or you hear nothing but bad things about it, and then you watch it and you're like, you know what? It wasn't that bad.
Yep.
Sorry, I cut somebody off
But
there.
the hype.
I have a fun story as well for like setting your expectations very low. So basically, when I lived in Poland, we had free swimming lessons with our head teacher, and for 3 years, I pretended I couldn't swim at all, even though I had swimming lessons since I was like 5. And then in year 6, when I knew Amma was going to move to England, I decided that I will show them that I can swim. And my teacher after that lesson was like, "Wait, but how can you swim?" And I was like, "I just realized I can swim today." And he was so surprised. It was so funny. His face, though.
Mm.
Yeah,
You missed your chance to tell him that like his teaching really just caused a breakthrough for you. Because then you would have like set him up for life. You would tell that story to every student in the future. You would think he was like, the best teacher ever.
he's just throwing
Like him.
people into the pool. Like, it really doesn't take any time at all to learn. You just gotta believe. You know?
Yep.
Speaking of expectations, how do you guys like set up expectations for like professional work since you're well known in the art community when you do get a client? How does that go forward?
Well, for me, I don't really do any work anymore in the industry or anything, so I don't have to deal with that. And I haven't really done work since I've become even minorly known in the art community.
Well, you do teach, and you do teach a lot of really great artists, I hear. So, what do you do with students that maybe are really popular on the internet and know you and expect things from joining your class? Like, do you ever experience that?
Oh, yeah, actually, that's probably a better uh, thing to think about. There's certainly an aspect of, when you teach someone that knows of you from the internet for a long time, and you're always feeling like, oh, they're gonna think I'm really lame once they finally meet me in person, see all this stuff. And I don't know, for like that was kind of worrying me at the start of things, but now I kind of feel like there's a slightly different personality that I have in person versus in my YouTube channel, and I kind of enjoy that variety of it. So even if it's a little different, as long as I'm enjoying things, I feel like it's fine.
Is there a difference between uh, teacher cynics and YouTube cynics?
Yeah, just a little bit, and it changes a bit over the years because I think YouTube Sinix has definitely become more and more. I don't know what the right word is, but even like just a little bit more, just happy, positive, friendly, whatever. And like in person, I'm much more joking, and even on streams and stuff, I'm much more just I like to just joke about things like in more evil ways, I guess, but not really evil. Just more, I don't know, darker humor, I guess.
Or more, you know,
Cynical cynics.
Yeah, there you
Cynical.
go.
more complex, right? More variety. Now,
Yeah.
can we talk about this drawing here a little bit? You remember this, Masay? Like, we were both, or I believe we talked about this. Like, I was painting, I'm feeling good about my painting, but then I see Sinix there, and he was chilling for so much of that drawing, where his cursor was barely even moving all the way up to now. I think we were just chatting or something, but it felt like, okay, what is going on? Why is he not painting frantically like the rest of us? Is this kind of like the Kung Fu master sitting in the back of the room watching everybody else fight before he kind of picks up his nunchucks? You remember we were talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, there's certainly like I wouldn't say it's the Kung Fu master because it's not like I was hyper confident of my ability or skills. But nonetheless, I just know that, like for myself, I have to have some trust in my own ability to, like no matter what pace I'm taking things at, to like find the rhythm and then just like embrace it anytime I find it. Even if I lose it, that's fine. Just keep doing it and know that it'll come back here and there. Also, I haven't used Magma Studio for painting before, so this was my first attempt at painting with it. So I was having fun just exploring different like little settings and brush things and stuff. So there was a little bit of that going on. But yeah,
Well, you
I,
know,
I
that
have my
is
trick, which I think I mentioned to you, when we were doing it, and I have strategies at play that I like to test out as well.
you could you should bring them up when you start doing them as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you were mentioning just playing. You're just playing. You know, a lot of people that we have on this, and not like it's on purpose, but a lot of people they kind of stress a little bit when they're painting with us now. You know, because like we're gonna be streaming this or whatever. But I'm sure like everybody can kind of agree. You have a very laid back kind of vibe. You know, like
Yeah,
do you
I think
get
the difference is
stressed?
I'm probably the one of the few people you have on that like doesn't work. It doesn't work in the industry. Like I don't do any professional work, so I'm not really in that like deadline state of mind where like things have to get done at any specific time. And I'm very much just in the mindset of like art's fun and I want to make it like that's my goal for everything, is to keep that mentality of art being fun and try to spread that to as many people as I can. So that's an important aspect of it. Never want it to feel, I don't want art to be a stressful place. I want it to be a fun, happy place where you can experiment around and try stuff out.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I have stressful fun. Like, you know, like The Amazing Race or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some people really thrive on the kind of more competitive, stressful side of it. I don't thrive on that. I don't do good when I'm in that mindset.
Mm, mhm.
Yeah, and of course like the 90-minute work or art challenge here, by the way, everybody, is not about competition. It's very much about you know, having people kind of show how they do things and how they think about things. So that's why this has been really like one of the most fun things I have on my plate every week.
Yeah, it's just an excuse to paint and hang out with people.
Yeah, I remember at the start we were also, or I was contemplating like, should this be hyper like crazy stylized or more realistic? I think we both like baited Bobby into making it
Yeah.
more stylized, and meanwhile we're just keeping it pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I do remember that. I was like, oh, maybe I'll make it a
We're
bit more
all gonna,
stylized.
hey Bobby, we're all gonna have a good time, and we're gonna show up to the party in costumes, and then Bobby shows up in a costume, and we're like, oh yeah, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'll dress up like a horse or whatever.
Hey, Sinix.
Hey,
It's Patricia here from Discord. I just want to say in the chat, there are multiple people saying that your tutorials help them so much, and some of them want to say hi or say something nice. I know they were just a bit shy, so I was gonna give the moment to open up their mics and just say hello to you.
Do
If
you
that's
mean
all right.
me?
I think so. It was Farmer and Kiefer.
Hi, Sinix. I just wanted to thank you for posting tutorials. They help a lot, and yeah,
oh, thank you.
it's kind of late here, so I can't really talk right now. But yeah, thank you for posting tutorials.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you too, because I remember for the first time when I found your videos, I was like, finally, I found my teacher, because your voice was like so encouraging, because it was so calm and chill, and the I'm talking mostly about the anatomy tips videos,
Mm,
and
yeah.
you divided them so like in parts that were very understandable and applicable, like easy to use. So
Yeah.
I don't know, that just helped me a lot.
Oh, well, thank you also. That's really nice to hear.
I also have kind of a question.
Oh, okay.
So I was wondering, since you don't take any commissions or freelance work, I was wondering if you ever feel stuck, not knowing what to draw, because nobody gives you a specific topic.
Um, there are, I mean, so there's a couple ways to go about that. Sometimes I like to, give myself limitations and just kind of start throwing out weird ideas or, ask other people for inspiration. But I never really feel stuck not knowing what to draw exactly because I know that I have so many kind of more exercise-oriented things to always get me started. Things like automatic drawing, like I'll just kind of, if I have nothing in my brain and no ideas on what to draw, I will just open up a page in a sketchbook or a canvas on like Painter and just start squiggling around, making a little bit of automatic drawing. And I know that at some point my visual library will just start imparting little ideas onto these squiggles and these shapes and these things. And I really enjoy that process of honestly not knowing what I'm going to be drawing and just letting lines and shapes start to come out and then try to find something. Similar to, little kids like drawing the way they don't plan anything out. It's just, I enjoy the act of mark making and then the kind of exploration and adventure of figuring out what it's going to be as it's happening.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to put your pencil down on the paper and just start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I take a lot of inspiration from even just like, the way little kids will draw and stuff. So you never want to forget the fun is in the process, not in the product.
Yeah.
And we have a question from Lily in Slido. Lily asks, how do you get back into enjoying art when you're having a bad time? It feels like I'm constantly under pressure to improve and it's not happening fast enough.
That's always a tough one because I think everyone feels like they're under pressure to improve at all times. I know I do. And it's never happening as fast as we want. But I think at the end of it kind of goes back to some of the stuff I was just mentioning. But I don't know. I have I have a lot of built-in confidence in the philosophy of art that I like to embrace, which is one of the belief that someone is always improving every single day just by virtue of their visual library expanding every single day. And confidence in some minor aspect of improvement, even if you're not drawing, is, in my opinion, extremely just valuable. It's one of the most valuable things you can have. It's almost like superstition in some ways, where things might not actually do something to any extreme amount, but if you just believe that something is gonna give you some kind of little edge, and you honestly believe that, like confidence goes such a long way in art, that you can always kind of feel like you're gonna improve, and it's pretty much always gonna work out since it's so mental in the end of the day.
Sometimes almost that confidence surpasses skill sometimes, and not that taping a banana on a wall is not skillful, but I'm just saying, perhaps the idea of it is very brilliant and all that. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure.
Very confident.
Yeah, it's I enjoy a lot of aspects of modern art stuff. Not because of like oh, I see a banana on a wall and I'm like inspired or something. I just like it because I enjoy the commentary that surrounds it. Like I think it's fun to at least discuss those things. Like
I like it
it's kind of
too.
sometimes we take things for granted as just being like, well, this is silly, or that's not silly, or this is good, or that's bad, or so on and so forth. And sometimes when you just have it distilled down in very like frank ways, like put in your face, like this is the distillation of modern art, and then you get to have like conversations about things you might not normally think about.
Yeah, there's
I like it.
sometimes, especially these days, there's a lot of people, they say, this isn't art, that isn't art. What I do is art. What do you kind of constitute as art? Is everybody an artist? There's some sayings that say everybody's an artist.
Yeah, I'm not super picky on it. Like I'm not someone that thinks like this is art and that's not art. In my opinion, anything that's just, a creative expression of something is art. I don't think it matters, like what's labeled as a certain thing or what's not. Um, and I guess to that extent, yeah, it's well, I lost my train of thought there a little bit. It went off the rails.
That's all good.
Um,
What about this? Can any kind of profession become art at a certain level?
hmm. Yeah, that's another kind of different side of the topic that I always find interesting because people use the word art in like two very specific ways. Like, because obviously the word art traditionally or somewhat traditionally, is meant to just encompass the world of visual media, but we also use it as just a catch-all for anything that's creative and created is art. Like just creation is art. So in that sense, yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel like our words for things aren't super important at the end of the day. Like we get really hung up on labeling things and trying to figure out what's what here and there just through labels, but who cares? It doesn't matter. Doesn't affect anything.
That's true. As long as you're enjoying it in the end.
Yeah. We try to kind of I think a lot of the times we get hung up on labels as a way to kind of reassure ourselves that something we're doing is worthwhile. Because if we see other stuff that doesn't seem to be worthwhile, then we're like, well, that's not the thing. This is the thing, and that's why it's
Mhm.
worthwhile. So a lot of it just has to do with insecurity. So the more kind of confidence and security you can just have in happiness as your goal for everything, I think the less you'll worry about what's art, what isn't art, all that kind of stuff.
Now you deal with a lot of students, so I'd love to ask you what is kind of like the most common thing that could improve their art as
Well, this
in
is where it
general.
gets a little bit weird because I have my very, very strong like new, and I don't want to say new age, but they feel like new age opinions comparatively, where I'm such a firm believer in the power of intuition and confidence and finding your right, level of focus and tempo and everything. And it's a little bit of a passion project of mine, just an obsession with this kind of other, I like to call it a fundamental of art that is more so, like tempo and focus and everything. Because I do believe, at its core, aesthetics are built into our just natural instinct in human brain, kind of set back there. And a lot of design theory and stuff is people trying to decipher like why do we like this thing? Why do we like that thing? Why does this shape next to this shape look better than that shape? But at the end of the day, it's kind of all built into, we're trying to tap into this this kind of nature of what looks good and what doesn't. And I think the best way to do that is to really focus on building a good intuitive way of drawing. So, if I can get people to find the right level of confidence and speed in their mark making, it's not like speed, like you always have to be faster. Like some people need to slow down, some people need to go faster. Everyone needs to just kind of figure out their flow and rhythm for how they approach just drawing in general, making lines, doing stuff. That's the one thing that always I feel like really separates a professional or a student that's like just awesome from the students that are kind of struggling a little bit. And even the people that are having bad days versus the people that are having, good days. It's usually just a matter of that type of stuff.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So hi, I'm Josephine. I just wanted to ask, you're talking about finding a good and intuitive way of drawing. I'm working on this thing right now, like a personal project, and just kind of making it specific to myself, what artists I really like and what I like about their art. So in a way where I'm seeing what kind of stuff that they make that I would like to implement in my own art. And so extending that thought, who are some of your favorite artists that you look to for inspiration?
Yeah, it's there's certainly been many over the years, and I consider myself like one of the biggest art fans out there because I'm just an obsessive fan of every artist I like. So earlier on, I really get into just anyone that has a loose, more impressionistic style of painting. Like Ashley Wood was a huge influence. And I tried to figure out why I enjoyed looking at his stuff so much, because it had that loose energy and everything. And it's just kind of progressed. Sparth has been like a perpetual inspiration throughout from the very start of my art days to now. Like I've always loved Sparth for his just like explorative use of like brushwork and stuff, but also just the content, sci-fi stuff. I'm a sucker for anything that's sci-fi or industrial. And there's just so many great artists that have all, I feel like, contributed different things to my view on art. You have people like Nurjan Bekliev, who just makes me appreciate flow and rhythm and anatomy so much. And you have people like Palang Sergei Kolosov, who just makes you appreciate story, like subtle storytelling, narrative elements in illustration so much. So there's a never-ending list of just artists that I'm obsessed with.
Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah, sure. Oh, maybe this is a good time to point out my sneaky strategy for what we were doing with the painting.
Yes, I remember.
So I kind of just had the theory, everything I do is just testing different theories. So my main theory, and I feel like it's not so much theory because it's mostly proven accurate, was that instead of just trying to render out the entire thing as like an even, kind of wash, building up all the levels of detail, I just figured if I want to make something that at least has some interest and appeal to people, all I have to do is just really get in there and just make the eyes feel kind of fun and detailed and everything. And then by happenstance, because eyes are such a focal point and an anchor point for how we view people, if the eyes look super detailed and finished, then even if the rest of stuff, if I don't finish, if I just make it chaotic and messy, it'll feel like it's meant to be that way. It'll feel confident because the eyes are finished and confident. So I just kind of wasted a lot of time messing with the eyes. And I was also, it wasn't just like completely like, I'm just going to be slow and stuff. It was figuring out how to paint and how to use the brushes in Magma Studio and get the best results out of them too. So I was kind of doing a lot of little experiments with that.
It's a very appealing eye. It works.
Yeah, it does look really great in the end. And it's like, I know what you mean. Even just like looking at the reference photo, it's like, especially this one, the first thing that catches your people's eyes is the eyes. So that's like a really good point. So especially in like studies like this, it might be a good idea to like focus on certain parts where you want to attract attention. So yeah, that's a really cool point.
I learned that from, I can't remember. There were a couple artists early on in my art career. I think, hanging out at conceptart.org and trying to osmose all of the good art stuff that was happening. There was one person that talked about how they always just quickly paint a face and then just kind of blur everything, but then just hyper render the eyes, and everyone always loves everything, like every face, and makes it feel like it's hyper finished when all they're doing is just kind of blurring everything except the eyes.
Who is that?
The stuff like that always stuck with me.
Do you remember who that was?
I don't. Yeah, there's so much chaotic information swirling around.
We could go to another Slido question. This one's from Anonymous, saying, why some people improving a lot by doing master studies or by copying other artists' drawings and others not? So I guess we understand that one, right?
Yeah. Why do some people not improve doing studies?
Yeah, like some people improve a lot doing studies, and then other people don't really improve that much. I kind of like, like when you're focusing on structure, then you're working out the different kind of muscles in your brain that you need to understand structure. And same thing with copying an angle or something like that. I always found, like when I was in school, the people that were really good at copying things, they were not necessarily good at character design, like making something out of their heads, right? Because all that strength was in looking at an angle or looking at a thing and making the same thing.
Yeah. I think, that there's a lot of elements that could be going on in terms of that. I do feel like anytime you complete any study of any sort, like it's gonna give you value. You're gonna get better whether you like it or not. And you need to believe in that. But like studies are a great way. I always consider studies, it doesn't even have to be old masters, just any art you like, just do studies of it as like the best way early on to just start improving at a great pace. The same way you would give someone a guitar and say, hey, you want to improve, just play your favorites, like learn to play your favorite songs. You're not going to tell them to like, hey, don't play any songs until you learn all your chords and all your fundamentals and you can do all these things. No, you're just going to tell them, hey, just try to play all the songs you like, and then you'll kind of figure out things along the way from doing that, and it'll become a lot easier. And then you'll probably even find it's easy to write your own songs if you've been playing a bunch of songs you like, rather than, once again, you're not allowed to play any songs until you master all these fundamentals, chord progressions and scales and all of that stuff. So doing studies is generally great. Now, I will say different people kind of pay attention to different things when they do studies, and that has a big impact of how much value they get out of them. Because some people, like we've kind of talked about, some people are just looking to accurately recreate almost every, pixel per pixel thing that's happening. And they're not really even thinking about anything kind of overarching that's going on. It's just kind of like, this thing's there, so it needs to be here. This color's here, so it needs to be here. It's a very just literal structural recreation. I know personally, when I'm looking at doing studies of anything, I like to take color as an example. When I look to do studies of a painting, it has different colors. I'm really looking for like, how warm does this color feel versus how cool does this color feel? And even if I'm not accurate with the outcome, I just want to make sure that's the thing that I'm thinking about, is like relationships between stuff. So relationships of cool tones and warm tones, relationships of value mapping and stuff. And that's the goal. So even if the colors aren't like, this is how they look, I want them to maintain some surreal aspect of what they actually are.
Hello, this is Yen. Sorry, just want to pipe in real quick. Bobby, the YouTube is reflecting that your volume is a bit low. Is there anything you can do about that?
I'll put it closer to my face. I hope that's good. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know.
I think for the part about studies, and I think it's when people ask specific questions when they're doing the studies, and when they come out with an answer by observing, like, let's just say a master study, I think that's how people are able to take that knowledge and like put it under their belt, because just copying is just copying. You don't really like learn anything. Or like if someone were to tell you like ask you like, oh, for this study that you did, like why is it warm, like why does it look like this? And if you can't answer like, oh, it's because the sun hits the ground and then it reflects off of there and then hits that surface to make it look warmer. If you're not able to answer that, then it's like you didn't really benefit from doing that study. So I think the key thing is to just like keep asking questions and like try to find the answer within that painting.
Yeah, I kind of think of it like studies, it's a gym. You can go into a gym and I can do all sorts of movements, you know, and it's fun. I'm doing movements and eventually I will get stronger. But if I go in with a purpose and go, okay, today's leg day or whatever, and like more strategic, you're gonna get more out of it. But of course, you don't want to ruin your love of art by just only doing fundamentals or something, things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Hey, I might have a good parallel to all this stuff relating to workout stuff.
Yeah.
I know that, yeah, it's something that I only realized like within the past year or two, but there's a lot of things in life that you just kind of do slightly with the wrong approach and never really realize it. And you take your bad outcomes and you relate them to something else. Like, well, I just have bad genetics for this, or I'm just not meant to do this, or I have that something. And the real good example I want to give comes in the form of just like lifting stuff up the way you bend down. So something like a deadlift. My whole life, I always would like, bend down to pick stuff up, squat down in a way where I never really fully like stretched and extended my hamstrings in the back. I'd always be kind of just compressing into my knees anytime I bent down to pick stuff up. And I had terrible knees. My knees still aren't great. But I thought, oh, I can't do deadlifts because I have genetically, bad knees, and it ran in my family. And I think it wasn't the like genetics that ran in the family. It was that you kind of ingrain when you see people else or other people lift things up in various ways. The kind of mechanics of how your parents do things, we often absorb them into our childhood brain. And I realized much later on, oh, it's my knees aren't actually the problem. I've just been spending my whole life like lifting things incorrectly and moving my body in like very unoptimal ways. And I just chalked it up to all these other things. And I never realized that until like I said, like a year ago, when I finally like was like, no, I'm just gonna really stretch my hamstrings as much as I can every time I bend down. And I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't hurt my knees at all. I can lift heavy things and it genuinely doesn't hurt. And I was like, I was so wrong. And I chalked it up to genetics and like, it's not meant to be. And this whole time I was just not doing it properly. I think there's a lot of things in art that basically fall under that same exact thing where we give up on things or we think they're not for us, or we just are like, yeah, it wasn't meant to be. I don't have a good visual library. I'm not, like, it just doesn't run in my family. Like, we're not good art people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When in fact, it might just be that you're just not engaging with things in the right way. And you're just giving up on it because of you think it's clearly just not meant for you or something. Yeah. Yeah. So in summation, stick out your butt as far as you can when you go to pick things up.
Hey, could I ask you guys if you had people that they went to school, they did the art thing, but they found out a career in art wasn't for them, and it was just like a personal hobby?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone should be forced to decide what they're going to do for their life when they're 20 years old or, like early 20s, because I certainly didn't know. I went through a ton of different things. Even in the art world, I did, the standard pipeline of going straight into being like a concept artist in entertainment industry without thinking about it, just because that's what everyone else was doing. And I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't until much later where I'm like, well, hold on, let me try teaching, because I think that actually represents what I like. And it was, like night and day, 10 times better for me. There's nothing wrong with not knowing what you want to do when you're in your early 20s or anything like that. It's meant to be an experimental time, and it's rough because there's a lot of expectations on you to be independent and have your career figured out when you're like in your early mid 20s. But art as a career is certainly not for everyone. If you find you really love art, there are a lot of adjacent things you can kind of analyze, like I did. What was the thing that you enjoy about it? And you might find another career path that's kind of fits that even better. So for me, it was solving puzzles. That's the aspect of it I liked. I didn't necessarily like the production of finished stuff or that kind of more competitive aspect of like, I need to make something super cool. I was just like, I just like solving fun little puzzles and like figuring out things in like new exciting ways. And I was like, you know what? That's just teaching. I just realized, hey, wait, that's just teaching. All that is teaching. That's what teachers do. So, there's a lot of weird things. I would probably, in that sense, I would have more fun teaching something non-art related, like teaching history, than I would have doing arts in the art industry. Like that's the extent that I realized, like, it wasn't the art aspect of it necessarily. It was the, art was a great way to just challenge all of that stuff that I loved.
I think a really good way for me was just make sure you get to a level where you can kind of understand what it is that you're learning to a point where you can get a really crappy job doing that, like the lowest level job of like drawing layouts or something like that. Like get to that point before you decide if you like it or not, because a lot of times, like how many of us like our really crappy drawings at the beginning? Maybe some of us, but there's going to be a lot more that didn't. It's like way easier to like stuff when you get better at it. I got good at layouts before I understood I didn't like layouts, and then I moved on to something else. But then when I moved on to something else, I already developed a little skill in layouts. So it's not like I wasted my time as well. And by doing that, actually, that was a huge relief, because I, like many others, think, okay, I need to decide on what I want to do. Like as if we only get to decide one time and then we're stuck with, cobbling shoes for the rest of our lives, right? Like we can shift to making shirts. We can shift to all sorts of things. You just choose one now. Get really good at it to a point where you can get a real crappy job, and then decide if you want to keep pursuing it and get better at it. I feel like a lot of people these days, there's too many options all around, so everybody tries everything for way too little time before they understand if they truly will like it, if they got a little better at it.
Mhm.
Yep.
Anybody else have a question for Sinix? Or yeah.
This is Harl. I have a quick question. So since this pandemic started, what do you do to replace doing live figure drawing sessions?
Personally, I didn't replace it, and that was a major downfall of 2020, was that because I used to go regularly every week to figure drawing as like a staple thing to keep me like constantly doing them. And when that went away, I just my routines just got terrible, and I didn't. I should have thought about it and processed it earlier on and been like, I need to replace this with a regular thing. But personally, I didn't, and that was definitely hurting my productivity and just my overall art senses in 2020. So I don't. I'm not a great person to ask that. Consider it a failure.
Do you know when she'll be opening that back up?
Oh no, I don't. I mean, I assume figure drawing across the country probably won't be back in swing until, I don't know, vaccines have been properly rolled out, and things are looking more positive.
Well, the other thing is like life drawing. This could be a really good time to start understanding how to paint different things besides the human body, right? Because
what blasphemy.
Because then you can, those things will also help you with characters later, right? Like textures and different types of surfaces and stuff like that. Like, there's also something to be said about studying from photos. I know, like, a lot of people, they might have strong opinions about that, but there's definite benefits in being able to see a photo and stare at it and see the details without having things move on you. Of course, both are good, right?
Yeah. Yeah, photos are a great time to practice like a lot of different things, but yeah, definitely things about color. You can focus more so on, the way shapes flow into other shapes, all that kind of stuff.
Do you have
there's nothing wrong with doing just pulling up some pictures of people and drawing them. Routine is the important thing. So try to get, no matter what, for the people that just are trying to figure out how to replace figure drawing, at least schedule something for yourself at like a specific time, because I think that's an important aspect of all things, building good like scheduled routines and stuff.
And it doesn't even have to be all day. It could just be for 90 minutes, maybe twice a week, like a 90-minute art challenge or something.
If only there was a thing that was like 90 minutes and you got to focus and do a study or something.
By the way, Masay, your painting is looking lovely.
Oh, thank you. I actually really like studying from photos now. Like I remember back in school, like even though we had life drawing, I did do a lot of studies based off of photos, just so I can like break things down, and then I won't feel pressured or rushed like at the moment. And then I think now is like actually a good time to like, go back to certain things that it's like, oh, how do these joints work, or like how does this part attach, or like where's the muscle for this. So even though it really does suck that like we can't go to life drawing anymore, maybe like this might be a good opportunity to do the things that you've always wanted to, brush up on. So hopefully that helps that person.
I always felt like the best thing for me was when I was studying from life, from photos, and from artists, and spending some time to create my own stuff, and actually spending equal amounts of time on each one of those different ways of studying.
Yeah, I think the one that people miss out the most on is just doing the studies of other artists. I feel like a lot of more rigid kind of people will not do those as much. And when I was getting good early on, it was really because I was doing like almost half my time doing studies of good artists, and then the other half just trying to draw from imagination after that, and like finding what stuck and what didn't. But yeah, it helped a ton.
What's the very first thing that you remember as a tiny little kid or whatever that you wanted to buy, you wanted your parents to buy you or whatever because of the art? Magazine, game, whatever.
That's interesting. Like, I wasn't like into doing art myself, but I loved the look of certain things. And I remember, obviously, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was like so cool looking. Like even just in the toy aisle, when you saw like anything related to them, I was just it's just like kind of sucked you in. I was like, oh, that's so stylish and fun. And I definitely had like the subscription to Nintendo Power when I was a little kid, and I would love just all the I would take tracing paper sometimes and just like put it over like like one of the drawings of like a Mega Man villain or something and just like trace it out and be like, yeah, that thing's awesome. So there's a lot of things.
Yeah, Nintendo Power, that goes back a ways. For those of you that don't know, Nintendo used to have a magazine, and it would have like secret or the maps, secret codes, stuff like that.
Yeah, back in the pre-internet days when codes were always rumored on the schoolyard, the only way to confirm that there were like secrets in a thing were to have Nintendo Power.
Yeah. Or buy those thick books with all the cheats and like how to navigate through it.
Yep.
I still remember up, down, left, right, A, B, select, start is the code for
BA.
Or was it BA? Oh, see, you know more than me. And that was like
Contra was definitely the most popular game, at least in my neighborhood when we were kids. Contra was always the go-to. Like, this is what we're gonna play. We're gonna play Contra.
Yeah. Did it ever make you want to work on video games at all? Like,
oh yeah, like I didn't want to be an artist at all, but I wanted to be a programmer all throughout high school. That was what I did it in my free time. I used to try to program little games and stuff. No interest in art as like the career or the way to do things, but I really was into computer stuff, all that kind of other aspect of things.
Did you have any artist friends growing up, or it just wasn't in like your life until
Not
later on?
really. Like, I was joking about it with the stream the other day. Like, my memory of people doing art in like elementary school was like always just the one girl that draws horses all day in their notebook, and like that was it. Like, I don't really remember there being like a lot of like art focused people. Maybe just in my class, but yeah, that's really like I don't remember there being like there. Then I think in high school you would get the kids who had like notebooks with just like their tag graffiti style stuff, things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember there being people that were super into art in my nearby circles at all.
I'm assuming,
that was
Masay, you're probably the opposite, right? Like, you were the artist in school. I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
She was
I
the
was
horse
the
girl drawing
artist.
horses.
Yeah, I was that, but it's all anime girls. I think for me it was I was the artist, but I never thought about pursuing art. I just did it as a hobby, and like I guess my image of an artist was like the people that have galleries and like art, those are art galleries or doing super impressionistic stuff, and it's like starving artists. So growing up, I never had that kind of like influence until I guess the internet, and I came across like concept art and character designs and all that.
Let me know if anybody else has heard this, because when I was little, my parents were like, the only successful artists are the ones that are dead. You need to die before you become successful in art. All the best ones, that's what happens. They suffer all their lives, and then they die, and then their stuff becomes successful.
And someone else gets rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though like I didn't want to be an artist, I never like no one told me that, but that was still my mentality. Like as a non-art kid, I was just like, oh, they want to be an art, they're gonna be starving and poor,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. The only one, like then I started to, learn about Picasso. And I was like, shit, that guy's doing really well. And he's still alive. And I don't even know what the heck he's painting at that time. I was like, what is that? But it was just enough to keep me chasing that carrot, I guess. Anybody else in the Discord with anything they want to ask Sinix?
Yeah, totally. What's up? My name is Gabriel. I've been like a diehard fan for like 5 years. I love your videos. They've helped so much. The design theory videos, the paint over pals, like all of your anatomy videos. Like I've learned more from your videos collectively than like every other channel I've watched put together. Like it's just such concise information and
Take
it's
that,
so
Bobby.
good. Like yeah, I feel like being in the bush of trying to figure out art, as a young person and just trying to like take those first steps. I feel like your content and the stuff that you've been talking about really helped me find the path like so many times. And whenever I lose track of what I'm trying to improve, like the video you put out next always has something that I'm like, oh man, okay, yeah, oh yeah, totally. And like the most recent one, the gun design, where you talked about how you can make a design really crazy if you make the part that's functional like really realistic and functional. Like that was such a key element that I didn't even realize before, and now I use it all the time when I'm designing. And I'm just so grateful, man. I'm so grateful for all your content, and like please keep making more. And I'm really keen if you ever do any one-on-one mentorship programs, like I will be first in line for that. So if there's ever one of those. But I'm just super grateful.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that gun design one, that was for Lightbox. The Lightbox, which is awesome. Yeah, it's funny because when Bobby asked like, hey, you want to do a little panel? I kind of just made I just tried to think of something like, what haven't I done? What would be hard? And then I like thought of the topic and then tried to think of a way to teach it. So I like forcing myself to just like have an end goal for teaching and then like have to figure out how to get to that point. Because I usually make a lot of fun little breakthroughs for myself when I do that. So yeah, thanks, Bobby, for helping me figure out what anchor points and gun design were all about. So I probably wouldn't have made any video about that topic otherwise.
Well, thank you for doing it. It was an awesome experience. It was really fun. Yeah, I know it's my event and I have every reason to hype it up or whatever, but I had a great time.
Yeah.
Now,
by the way, I just saw someone in chat that said we both sound so similar. Do we? We need confirmation. How similar do we sound? Do we sound like similar people?
How similar do we sound? Do we sound like similar people?
Maybe.
Give
me like a nice like whatever.
I got confused once.
I have to look up every time.
That's so funny.
To see who's talking.
I think like Sinix like speaks a more like raspy voice, and yeah, you two sound like 70% similar, I think.
That's so funny.
Usually
Maybe
I write
like laid back, like the laid back kind of voice.
Maybe
that's similar to.
Maybe. I feel like I have the most, like, you know how everybody most people hate their voices. I don't like it when I get too excited. My voice gets all like, I feel like it gets shrivelly and stuff, and it just sounds horrible. That's my pet peeve.
It probably sounds more like my voice.
Usually in these streams, or at least I try to, before the streams, I try to write down some talking topics, some things that we and the community can kind of get into and chat about. So I want to kind of bring up the fear of criticism. I just wrote this down, whether you think it's true or not. If you have any thoughts about it, let's share. Okay, so what I wrote down was one of the top reasons people don't live out their dreams is fear of criticism.
I not relate. No, I've mentioned that kind of various times throughout my career, but I don't. That is not really a big factor for me. I know it is for a lot of people, but I don't really have that fear of criticism from other people too much. It's never really guided anything. And actually, at the Lightbox talk from 2 years ago with Med, I kind of went into that. I grew up in a very, I don't want to say critical like home, but my parents are very like joking, and they just like give everyone a hard time. Basically, they're the type of people who would just like if you mess up, they'll just be making fun of you about it, or something like that. But to me, that was like a way to show, that you care about someone. Because I grew up in that, like, these are my parents, and I know they care about me, and they have this personality that's very joking and, kind of sometimes sarcastic, sometimes like bordering on mean. But like for us, as we grew up in it, like it was just kind of fun and we enjoyed it. So like I take critiques in a very like nothing someone could say to me like has any negative impact. I'm just like, ah, that's funny. That's true. Yeah, I was doing that. My voice is annoying, like all that stuff. Like I'm just I don't get affected with it. So
What about
personally,
the inverse? About giving criticism? Do you have any fear of giving criticism?
yes, I do have a fear of giving criticism, and it relates to the same thing because I grew up in that way. And I didn't have a fear at first, but I realized that the way I criticize other people can come off as extremely mean and like, harsh and stuff like that, and too joking and just like all that stuff. And in my opinion, in my brain, as I'm doing it, I'm just like, obviously this is how I learned to give, like to interact with people and to give criticism. So in my brain, I'm like, I'm being nice. I'm helping them. This is fun, like all this stuff. And they could, if they grew up in a household that wasn't like my household, then they're going to hear me say these things and they're going to be like, why is he being so mean? Or like, why is he saying that in such a harsh way? And I didn't realize that early on, but through, the past, years of being more observant, I've become very aware of the fact that the way I phrase things at certain times and the way I give critiques to people can really come off differently to different people. So I try to be very much more just kind of safe and think about what I'm going to say before I say it most of the time now.
Have you ever told anybody that maybe they shouldn't be an artist after looking at their work? I've heard that before. I don't know if I've ever
heard. Because I'm a firm believer that everyone can do art. I don't believe in there's like, and so I just consider like if someone's just all over the place, they haven't figured it out. I just consider that like a good challenge. Like, that's when I start pulling out the tricks of like maybe it's more about tempo and all these things and confidence, and like I'm just like, I'm gonna solve this problem no matter what it takes, because I really believe that anyone can have something awesome to offer in art.
Can you talk about what working artists say is crunch time? I hear about it in the videos where there's like a deadline and they just crunch. Is that?
We just start getting on the ground and start doing sit-ups. Big time. Big time. I put my pen in my mouth and clench down.
Bobby probably has more experience because I don't work in the industry, but I know crunch is basically refers to, any time where something's about to be released or when you're getting down to it. And it's more so the collective like group pressure to just, hey, we're all just going to stay overnight and work on something. We're all going to order in food. And a lot of people enjoy it. Like I talk to people like men and they're like, crunch time was most fun because we're like camping out in the office and doing stuff like that. The main danger of it is that while it's fun for some people, everyone feels the pressure to like be, like I'm not going to be the one guy that's like, well, see you guys tomorrow and like go home. But some people have families and other responsibilities. So it kind of reaches this weird level of some people being like, I have other things that I need to do, but the group pressure is so strong to like let's just all work free overtime basically, and kind of like we're in this together as soldiers. But I'd like to hear maybe Bobby or
Worst crunch time I ever had was when I got that email from Tim Burton's people saying he's interested in you working on Alice in Wonderland. Do you want to do a test? And I was like, yep, totally want to do a test. All right, when can we expect this painting to be done? A finished concept, right? Of course, I want to say something much shorter, because I'm like, I don't want the person to think I'm slow. So I said, I'll have it to you for tomorrow. And then, oh man, crunch time happened. It's 24 hours, nonstop. And then, it's like, yeah, he didn't like it. Do you want to try again? And I'm like, yes, I do. Another 24 hours.
Oh, no.
That was brutal. That was some pretty heavy crunch time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the most crunch time was in school. Did you ever experience like heavy crunch time when you were a student, Missy?
Kind of. I don't know. I feel like my assignments I didn't put my 100% all the time, so I kind of just did almost bare minimum in a way, because I guess I just wasn't super into it. And then, yeah, so in school, I didn't really have that much crunch time. I wasn't much of a procrastinator either for schoolwork, but when it comes to work, then it's like, when it gets close to the deadline, then it's like, okay, this is my priority now.
But my feelings of crunch time though is like, most of the time it's not necessary. It's just bad habits leading up to that time.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you should have a wider schedule. Like nobody should have to do all-nighters. It should be a very, very rare thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It gets hard when it's like a group effort, and then near the end it's like, oh well, this person didn't pull their weight. It's like all hands on deck.
Yeah, but and to Sinix's point, like some people, like I love those kind of things. I love finding joy through suffering. Working real hard, spending a lot of effort on something to get that result.
Yeah. That's I was well, in some ways, just the downside of it in like the game industry that you always hear in like random news articles and stuff is really just the aspect of, it's not like everyone dislikes it, because like I said, a lot of people, especially the younger people, they it's fun to like band together and work on stuff. The problem is just that it becomes like there will always be someone that's like, I don't want to do this, but I feel like I have to do this and stuff, and that's when it kind of becomes more of a troubling thing overall.
I think the biggest part is like a lot of those stories, it became habitual in those companies, right? It was like, this is expected. This is part of the job, and that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm almost scared to ask Masay, but have we ever done an all-nighter?
Maybe not all-nighter.
The workshops could get real long, that's for sure. But what about like a work day at the studio? There must have been some long nights at some point.
I think for the first Lightbox Expo we had, there's like a lot of stuff that had to be done, so maybe a bit of overtime for that happened.
Oh yeah, well,
it's like just picking up the little things.
Lightbox is a different beast because everything converges at once at the very end.
Yeah,
Hundreds of people that were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do something for you, I'm gonna have it by this time. They wait till the last freaking second to give you all this stuff, and then you gotta do a lot of hours. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Well, this painting, it's coming to close, everybody. Everybody has less than 15 minutes left.
I remember, yeah, when this was going on, you may notice if you're watching this, I've been like meandering and barely doing anything for the past 30 minutes. I was just kind of very casually having fun chatting and not really. And then like all of a sudden I was like, oh, 15 minutes. That's probably fine. We can finish it.
Yeah, I think you turn it up at the 10-minute mark or something like that.
Yeah, when there's no time left, that's when I start really hitting my stride.
And I'm trying to do my caricature thing because I thought we were all doing this stylized thing.
It worked.
Random note, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting anything here, but I'm hearing a lot of this crunch time and some other cycles that come from like software development and other things. Like if you are relatively understanding what hackathons are, we have like agile, and crunch time is something that they just apply at a certain cycle. And every single time that you guys have been talking about certain projects, it feels so closely related to that. I'm getting like goosebumps or deja vu from it. I don't know.
Totally.
Have you guys?
There's so much of a close relationship between art and programming, like painting as an artist, painting and drawing, and programming. So much.
Okay. I just wanted that to be clear or something. But just maybe one more thing.
Hello?
So Sinix, oh, sorry.
Oh,
Go.
sorry. No, go ahead. I didn't know I was online.
I met you, well, not met you, but like I knew of you since like Psycho Yasin's like one-on-one streams, if you remember those kind of things. I'm just wondering do you still keep up with them? Just a random note.
Yeah. I mean, I really always enjoyed him as a person, and I like talking to him any chance I get to. I think the last time I talked to him was maybe a month ago. But he's just so content to not do the whole, YouTube. Like he just got burnt out on it. And he just realized it wasn't making him happy. So like he's fine just kind of doing his own stuff and not being too obsessed with the YouTube side of things. But he's doing good. He's working on his projects. He's still, got a great personality. I love his sense of humor. So yeah, I don't keep up with him as often or as much as I'd like to. But yeah, any chance I get, I enjoy talking to him.
Well, either way, I enjoyed your guys' talk way back then. That kind of kept me pushing forward back in high school and stuff like that. So, yeah, thank you again. And I'm glad to hear that he's still doing okay and not letting YouTube push him in certain directions. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Sakura was such a fun. There was a very fun time for over a year where Sakura organized literally daily, nightly hangouts, and he would just have a study session every single night.
Wow.
And we would just get in there with like any artists that wanted to. Sometimes get met. Sometimes you'd get other just random guests that he had met on YouTube or something. But we would always just go in there and just hang out, chat, have a good time. And just do studies, just do art every single night, and that was such a great time.
That was the click back then.
I guess, yeah, something like that.
Cool. Somebody else had a question?
I have a question. Oh.
Yeah, go for it.
Hello? Sorry.
You can go before me because my question's really stupid.
No questions are stupid. So
No,
I had a quick question. So when I was younger, I was in community college. I had this really bad anxiety complex when it came to one of my classes, which was figure drawing. Not figure drawing. What's it called? Life drawing. Like I had no problem drawing the naked person up on the stage, but when it came to just being there, I had just really bad anxiety. I know you dealt with this, Sinix, a little bit. So I was wondering if you had any tips or anything, or even Bobby or Masai.
I mean, Well, there's a couple factors that kind of go into anxiety. Because if you find it's just from one specific setting that's giving you anxiety, then there's, kind of you have to have some little bit of just analyzing, okay, why this setting? Maybe is it just having to draw stuff with other people there that can see what you're drawing? Is it that kind of thing, or is it, that sense of figure drawing can sometimes get to people because it's, like it's these constant upcoming deadlines, like do it now, nope, now you have this section, and people just can feel a little bit rushed or frantic. And there's a lot of things that could be going on with that. Now, personally, for me, anxiety was more of like a just daily, existential level of just chaos that was happening with me. So medication was 100% like the best thing I ever did, was like seeking professional, medical help. And it doesn't really have to be anything crazy. There's a lot of simple medications that don't affect you in any, like, you're not going to change who you are or lose yourself. Like, they literally just make it so you don't feel as anxious needlessly at random times. So that's always an issue. But anytime you can observe and analyze, like, why do I feel more stressed out by doing this, and then find a way to rationalize it just a little bit, because in a lot of ways, like, you should work toward being very comfortable anytime you're in a situation with other artists, just because of the sheer fact that you have that shared passion and everything. You can take a little comfort in that kind of shared love for art and focus on that aspect of it instead of anything that might be throwing that off or causing any negative, issues. So if you can like treat yourself like a fan, maybe you get more interested in just kind of seeing the way other people are doing figure drawing, and not make it too much about like the performance that you're having on that day or what you're drawing. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can probably approach that issue.
Okay, I mean, I definitely appreciate the feedback, because the teacher, she was a great teacher and all, but she told me this, you're not going to become a great artist if you keep on crying in class. So that kind of, it didn't throw me, it didn't throw me off of my course of becoming a great artist. It just kind of like, wow, like, really, you're actually going to say that to me when I'm crying?
Yeah, that's kind of a weird, it's a weird thing to say to someone. I mean, literally, even if you just cry all the time, like, you can be the crying artist and still be like the most famous, like, amazing art. Like, I don't see why that's such a big issue. Like, art is such a, strange thing.
It is an emotional thing.
I'm
like
sure they meant well in their mind, but that's not quite the right thing to tell someone.
Totally not.
I appreciate it. Thank you for answering my question.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, that's the worst. Can I just say, like, a bad art teacher is worse than having no art teacher at all. Like, 100%. Having a bad art teacher is worse than having no art teacher at all. So.
Yeah. And like I said, teaching is it's a tricky job, and I think not every teacher, like, I consider myself to at least try to be super observing of my own things, and even if I mess things up at a given time, I'm at least like, okay, what did I do wrong there, and all of this stuff. And like I said, like, a big breakthrough for me was like recognizing my upbringing and the way I show that I care about people and the way I interact with them through critiques and things, and like realizing that, oh wait, not everyone has that experience. And for them, it's probably a similar thing where they're like, well, when I was younger, my parents told me to suck it up and they cared about me, so that's what I'm gonna impart as my wisdom. But it doesn't it's that feeling that everything they experienced is a universal kind of experience of everyone.
Take this medication. It helps me out. Here you go.
Yeah, that, like, yeah.
Pop 2 of them.
Just
I'll fix
do
you.
this.
Hello.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask if any of you guys have ever had to deal with imposter syndrome, and if so, how you coped with it. That's all. Thank you.
Totally.
To some extent, I always, as someone who is now an outsider to industry stuff, I always feel super, not necessarily imposter, but it's a related thing where I feel very awkward, like even at like Lightbox Bobby's thing, where it's like I feel like the only one in every room that's like, not a professional or not someone that's like, should I be here? Because everyone else is like, working in the industry, making awesome things, and I'm just like doing social media, and I'm not a professional in the industry anymore. So I always feel some aspect of that in a lot of situations, but I think certainly age changes everything, and the older you get, the less you feel. Just in general, by the way, the less anxiety you feel, the less worrying and mental stress that goes on. Things like imposter syndrome, things like all of that stuff. Age helps a lot with just being comfortable and not caring. I always like to point out the old naked men that hang out in the gym, like the locker room gyms. Or, I'm sorry, the gym locker rooms. Like, reaching that age, like you reach a certain age, and it's like nothing matters. Nothing gets to you anymore. You're just like fine with yourself. You're so comfortable in your own skin, with who you are and everything. So age goes a long way for a lot of that stuff.
Do you think that that's a mix of intention and kind of like time, or is that just something just baked into time?
I feel like, I mean, that would be tough to say as a single person who only has my own experiences. I'm not entirely sure. I feel like there must be some aspect of that that's universal to everyone, which is time. Time makes you more comfortable.
Because I kind of feel like,
once again, I'm just judging that based off of gym locker rooms. Time clearly cures all issues.
For me, it's like I think about maturity, and it's like, do people really get mature with time? Or is it just like, yeah, you have a better chance at becoming more mature, but you still have to consciously try to become more mature? Because some older people, they're very much like children, and then some are very, very wise.
Yeah, but do you feel like have you ever met an old person that feels very insecure, like, though? I feel like that's the rarity, right?
Yeah. So that's exactly where I'm kind of getting at. Is it kind of like that, or is it kind of like, maturity, or is it different? Being confident.
I guess I'm not sure.
Not
I do
having
feel like
imposter syndrome. Like, say you are a late adopter to art. You became a student very, much later in your life. Wouldn't you kind of have a good reason to have imposter syndrome?
A good reason, I guess, potentially.
Or a more
you could
logical,
surely
like,
make an argument for why you would have it.
Yeah, not a good reason, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of tricky thing. I feel like all this stuff that relates back to human psychology, which, by the way, I feel like anytime I ever do any question answer stream stuff, everything, the vast majority of questions that people struggle with are always kind of related to more mental state, mental side of things, like, why do I do when I feel this way or that way, or dealing with art block or this thing or imposter syndrome. It's interesting to me because those are just incredibly dense and tricky issues that never really, no one has like perfect answers to. There're just so many layers, all of this stuff.
I feel like my imposter syndrome has gone away. Like I had it for years, but went away after I it's not like I feel like I belong. I just stopped caring.
There you go. You got old. You're one step closer to being old man naked in the gym locker room.
Right on. How do you
That's
know I'm
that's
not?
the goal.
This is
the dream,
quarantine
Bobby.
over Zoom
We're gonna
right
be hanging
now.
out naked in the locker room someday.
It might already be happening right now, Sinix. We might be right there right now. You don't even know. Sorry, Masay. I got pants on. It's all good. We're just talking theoretically. All right.
Yeah,
So how do we segue into another awesome question? Well, just like that. So Anonymous asks, how do you overcome the... Oh, that's kind of like industry kind of question here. As a beginner, should you learn digital painting with brush opacity on pen pressure or off? Like, is there, let's carve it into like, if you were to teach somebody right from the start to digital paint, how would you go about doing it?
Yeah, I mean, very first step, yeah, I would probably not have them messing with opacity at the very start. That would be the first thing I like have them turn on once I've had them do some simple value studies of stuff. Because I made the most recent video actually talks about what I think is most important thing to do at the start, and that is to get away from the sense of lines being the deciding factor that determines everything you're looking at, and try to process everything as just big shapes. And the easiest way to do that is to force people to use some big brush where they can't even make lines, and they'll try to use like finagle their way into using opacity and like kind of carving lines out of it. We're using like light and dark. So I think it's really good to just limit them down to like, you're gonna stick with this big dumb brush and you're gonna force yourself to start seeing the painting as just big shapes.
And as you're talking, we've gotten to the end of our painting. So why don't we finish this stream by talking about your thoughts, about your final piece. What would you do different? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it?
Okay, well, I greatly overestimated how quickly I could paint New Man, because like I only started speeding up near that like 5 minutes left, and I was like, oh, I'm not as fast as I thought I was. So like obviously I think there's two main things that stand out to me that I would have liked to mess with. I'm kind of okay with just the weird abstraction of hair, because once again, as long as I have the like focal point of like eyes feeling like they're relatively finished, it kind of makes the whole painting feel at least like a slightly more like it's this is what I meant to do. It feels slightly more confident. Whereas if you saw that craziness in the hair and clothes without the face being like that, you'll be like, this person is just making a mess on the canvas. So there's an aspect of that. I think the main thing, I'm okay with the chaos in the hair. I wish the clothing, I would have made that like a little bit crisper and cleaner, kind of like how it looks on Bobby's over there or Masay's. Like if I combine that into mine, that would certainly go a long way with it. The other thing that I feel like I missed, and I'm going to give an example of the type of thing that I think you should look for when doing studies, because while we were recording this right now, all I can do is like look at the reference picture, and all I see is that one side of the neck is like gets into that really warm ochre tone, and the other side is comparatively much more desaturated, cooler tone. And I'm like, I didn't hit that difference when I did it. I really Like now I really like to focus on those comparative things, like this shadow's warm, this shadow's, you know, kind of more in this neutral, cooler tone, and kind of emphasize those. And sometimes you just don't recognize all of that stuff when you're doing them. So little things like that.
Masay?
I took your advice of like, you know, refining the eye and like putting more detail in that. So as soon as you said that, I did start adding more details. But I think overall, the temperature in the skin, I didn't really hit that mark. If anything, I think Bobby and Sinix, like you guys were able to get that pretty accurately. So I think maybe it was probably the beginning flat colors that I put down is what established that, and then I just tried to like knead it into like what I have now. So overall, I think I like what I did. I just wish I could change some colors. Yeah.
Well, I started off this painting thinking that we're all gonna caricature, we're all gonna stylize. So that's what I was doing. I was trying to like.
Why are the eyes so small, Bobby?
Damn you, Sinix.
Sinix and I, we planned this. We're like, we're gonna trick Bobby into doing a caricature.
Yeah, the cool thing about this painting, the thing that I really took away was before adding in the highlights, there was a point where it looked so horrible to me. I think, here, maybe if I could do this, maybe like at this point, the skin color just looked kind of horrible to me. And then I start to put in these subtle just changes in the tones, just subtle changes. And those little tiny halftones really is what brought it from being a ugly yellow face to something that felt a little bit more like skin. And just the power of like super close tones in that mid-range area. It was very interesting. And my favorite part about this was the shirt, how I just lightened up some, you know, those flowers, so it felt kind of more structural. But had a great time.
I like how you handled the shirt a lot. I like that part.
Thanks.
And I like how Matsei did the little highlight in the part of the hair, like.
Oh, that little part where it just captures it.
Yeah, because I was sad I didn't get that part, because I love, that's like such a fun part in hair in general. It's like that little where it parts and you can have that little.
Yeah, instead of like just clearly writing or like painting down a line. Yeah.
What's happening in here?
Yeah, and Masay, you always seem to nail like all the elements, and I always seem to miss a bunch of the elements, because I missed that, and then I missed the earrings that I noticed both of you did, and the necklace that both of you did. I am just noticing that now.
Okay. Can I just point out that was a Med Aldori that came in and was like, "What's happening?" And he's lost. He's an old man and he's lost. He doesn't know where he is.
Hey, Med, you just entered the Lightbox Expo Discord channel during the 90 Mac challenge here, so I'm gonna put you on blast here. You want to join and do one of these challenges with us in the future?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Someone told me that Sinix was in a big voice chat. I'm like, oh, I'll join. And then is it like going live or something? I'm so lost.
We are live.
Really,
so you can have your own episode in the future.
Yeah.
Sinix, are you an artist or something?
I dabble.
Right on.
Where can I see this?
What, the actual stream? So
yeah, yeah, sorry.
Oh, it's on my YouTube channel.
Of course. Silly me.
No worries.
I will mute myself.
It's totally fine. Well, I can't wait to do a stream with you too, Med. As for us, our stream is over. So if you finished that 90 Mac challenge there, good for you. Right on. And we'll see you tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to be doing a different 90-minute art challenge with Masay. She's going to be showing her beautiful painting, breaking down the layers, talking about the intricacies of everything that it took to build up this painting, and she's gonna give you a challenge, and that's to make a frozen treat. Right, Masay? I got that right? As the frozen
Yeah,
treat. I
something
forgot.
like that. All right,
Okay.
that's like the prompt. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be on the Tumblr page if it isn't already. And join us tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time or 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you to the wonderful audience. Thank you to the amazing mods, my assistant Jamie. Thank you so much, and thank you to my co-host Masay. And biggest thank you goes to Sinix. And little future thank you to Med, because Med's going to be joining us too. That's going to be awesome.
Hey.
Yay. Looking forward to that.
All right.